All right, in this video, we are going to talk about the self-selection bias. This bias literally kills people. I mean, this is one of the most important things you'll probably hear in your entire life. I mean, when I first heard about the self-selection bias, this literally changed my life. It made me change the way I look at everything. And I think this will change the way that you look at everything too, because this bias is incredibly dangerous. It's the reason why people become overweight. It's the reason why people hate their lives. It's the reason why people hate their jobs. It's the reason why people settle. It's the reason why people die with regret. This bias is one of the primary reasons for human suffering in general. And most people spend their entire lives defaulting. My dad is a banker, so I'll be a banker. It's easy to study business, so I'll study business. My friend went to that school, I'll go to that school. Like I said, it's called self-selection bias. Instead of creating criteria for a decision, they choose the easiest path, the default path. They choose the path that requires the least amount of energy because they don't realize they're a bitch to their own brain. The brain is designed to store energy. And in the complicated modern world, more than ever do people make important decisions the same way they make a decision on what restaurant to eat at. It's like choosing the videos YouTube recommended you instead of consciously deciding what you want to watch. Except people do it with what college to go to, what career to choose, where to date, who to date. And honestly, it's a tragedy. It's disgustingly sad. Most people let life choose for them instead of becoming the captain of their own ship. It's like when something is available, you choose the thing that is available instead of creating criteria for what you want. It's very easy to say, I want to be a banker because my dad was a banker. That requires no mental energy. That doesn't require any thought. It's very easy to make that decision. And that's what a lot of people do. They decide they're going to go to a school because they've heard about the school a couple times, right? They've heard about the college. Oh, I'm going to go to University of blank. Why? Oh, because I've heard 5 of my friends are going there. I've heard people talk about it. So I'm just going to decide to go to it. Instead of sitting down and saying, okay, what do I want out of a college? I want this. I want X, Y, and Z. They need to have a good medical program. It needs to be small classes so I can have hands-on interaction. The dorms need to be nice. They need to be high quality. I need to have a good environment, and I need to have a nice view from the campus. They need to have a capitalist attitude, and they must respect free thinkers. Like if you wrote those things down and you said, okay, this is my criteria for a school, and then you said, okay, what school meets this criteria, you'd find a much better school. And this applies to every area of life, but no one does this. Very, very little do people do this. They don't do this for a career, for a degree. All right, why do you want a specific degree? Why do you want a business degree? Most people will say because it's easy or because there's a lot I can do with that. But that is so unspecific for something you will literally spend the rest of your life doing, right? If you're going to spend the rest of your life doing something, you want to be very freaking specific on what that thing is. Same thing with a romantic relationship, the person you date. A lot of people, their next door neighbor or someone they went to high school with is the person they date. They saw them a couple times. They're pretty. They have a nice face structure. The exposure to that person, the availability of that person is how they make that decision. Not, okay, this is what I want out of a mate. This is what I want out of my wife. This is what I want out of my husband. They must understand entrepreneurship, understand what I do. They must be loving and thoughtful. They must be strong-willed. They need to want kids. They need to be an independent thinker. I'd like them to be conservative. I'd like them to be XYZ, right? If you write down that list, this is what I want out of a person, and then make a decision whether you'll date someone based off of that criteria you created, well, guess what? You're going to find a much better person. You're not going to self-select. So let's dive a little bit deeper into self-selection bias so you can understand how this works in your own life and you can defeat this bias because it is deadly. So to define this for you, self-selection bias is the human tendency to default to available options or make unconscious decisions without intentionally choosing based on predetermined criteria. In other words, it's basically an automatic decision instead of a decision that's deliberate, instead of planning out the decision. And what we're going to cover in this video is how to defeat the self-selection bias so you design your life in business instead of settling for one. Because that's what happens. People make automatic decisions their entire lives and settle. And the thing is, your brain is terrible at making logical decisions. Humans are not rational. We're not at all. We are emotional beings. You might think you're rational, but that's literally because humans are overly optimistic by design. We are overconfident. We think we're better than we are. Every human on this planet thinks they're better than every other human in different ways, whether it's true or not. Literally, you walk around your entire life thinking that you are better than everyone around you. Don't deny it. It's true of everyone. If you see someone that has a super nice body, you'll say they probably have a bad personality. I have a good personality. If you have not as nice of a body, that's your automatic response. Now you can train yourself to say, hey, I respect that person for having a nice body, but that's not your automatic response. That is not your automatic response. Your automatic response is to feel you're better than you actually are, to make emotional decisions. Humans are not logical. Every psychologist that has studied this, every experiment will tell you exactly that. And before we continue, I want to promise you, or I want you to promise me, you will commit to defeating the self-selection bias in your life and commit to living a hyper-intentional life by your design. I want you to commit to this right now for me, because this will change your life forever. Your life will permanently be better if you embody this one thing. This one thing will be worth this entire program for you by 100 times. So commit to me, promise me you'll commit to defeating this bias in your life and commit to living a hyper-intentional life by your design. Can you promise me that? Awesome. And my promise by the time we're done today is you will have the tools and the knowledge to design your life and business and defeat the self-selection bias. And John Milton, who's a poet, once said, luck is the residue of great design. And it's very true. It's very true. When Bill Gates started Microsoft, the only people who used computers were scientists and the military, and a few corporations here and there, but it definitely was not a mainstream thing by any means. And computers looked like this. They were big, they were bulky, they were hard to use, they were super slow. And no one really saw that much promise in computers, or at least most people, the general public did not see that much promise in computers. But Bill set out, despite the odds, with a mission of putting a computer on the table of every home, which was an incredibly ambitious intention, incredibly ambitious criteria for his company, incredibly ambitious mission for his company, considering how computers were used at the time. And Bill set a mission and created a plan for achieving this massive goal. Changing the world requires insane levels of intention. Just like Bill had that insane level of intention when starting his company. He didn't just say, I'm going to start a computer company. He said, I'm going to start a company with the goal of putting a computer on every single table in every single home. And now look at tables today. The average home has like almost 2 computers on average in every home. I mean, he more than fulfilled that mission. And guess what? That motivated his employees to get up out of the morning every day because they rallied behind that mission. He did not self-select. He didn't do the easy thing with his company. He sat down and thought, what would be a worthy cause? What is my criteria for success with my company? And he said that criteria is to put a computer on every home or every table in every home. And by setting that criteria, he achieved it. Luck is the residue of great design. So does living your best life and becoming as successful as possible with your solution. It requires hyper intentionalism. It requires you to be and know exactly what you want. So let's talk a little bit more about life by default, which is how most people live. The 99%, or maybe the 94%, live their life by default. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to prove it to you right now. Because it's going to be super obvious to you just how default most people live their lives. And this is what I'll call the 80% disease. Because 80% of people are non-intentional. Just look out in public, you'll see most people are overweight. Most people are addicted to something. Most people hate their job. Most people don't live their dream. Most people aren't happy. Most people are tired all the time. And most people are broke. Facts. Everything I just said is a fact. And this is what I'll call the 80% disease, because this plagues our society. You just look around and you'll see how unintentional people are. People don't sit down and say, what is my criteria for what I want to eat? They just say, hey, I just drove past the burger place. It's cheap. I've eaten at it before. Boom, let me just eat it. Oh, I just got this degree. Let me apply for 100 jobs and choose a job. Even if it's not that great of a job, I just need a job. So boom, I'll just take it. I now have a bunch of bills. I now live in a city I don't want to live in because my job wants me to live in this city for that job. I don't like the city. Now I'm not happy. I don't live a happy life, but guess what? I live to pay bills. And as a result, I'm tired all the time. And I'm broke because I live in an expensive city. Like, that's literally most people's lives. They didn't set criteria. And the problem is they rarely ask why. You know, why am I drinking tonight? Why am I going to this school? Why am I working this job? Why am I watching Netflix? Why am I doing this? What is my purpose? What does this do for me? How does this improve my life? They don't ask these tough questions. They just default because it takes mental energy to ask why. And if they do ask themselves why, they reason based off of their default instincts. When they're speaking to themselves, it usually sounds something like, business seems easy to make money with, so I'll study business. I don't feel like spending money on grocery store food, so I'll buy fast food. This job pays the bills, so that's why I work there. I felt like it, so that's why I did it. I've worked hard this week, so I deserve a drink. And the problem is most people spend their entire lives, including when making important decisions, deciding this exact way. It's like choosing what to watch on YouTube based on what's recommended instead of consciously deciding what you want to watch. You know, if you've ever gone on YouTube, there's a recommended, or Netflix, there's a recommended section. Most people, they'll just click a video as soon as they pull up Netflix or as soon as they pull up YouTube because they don't know what their criteria is for what they want to watch. And that's okay if your goal is to just numb your mind. But in the rest of your life, you need to set criteria. You need to go to YouTube and you need to say, all right, what do I want to watch? You know, I'll go to YouTube and My goal is to watch a billionaire video. Okay, well, what billionaire do I want to learn about today? How about the founders of Google, Sergey and Larry? Great. Well, now I'll go ahead and I'll watch that video because I set that criteria. And guess what? In a month from now, because I set the criteria every single time I went to YouTube, I'm going to be much more knowledgeable. I'm going to have a much better life just by that one criteria, as opposed to where if I just clicked something random every single time I went to YouTube, if I did that every single time, I would live a much worse life because it's going to recommend me things that might not be in line with my best interest, with what is the best possible scenario. And like I said, most people do it their entire lives, even when making life's most important decisions. They let life choose for them instead of setting their criteria for their decision. And this is because of something called Systems 1 and Systems 2. And it's crazy how much your life can change when you deeply understand the inner workings of how you operate. The way that I've learned all this stuff that I'm teaching you throughout this program is because I've been obsessed with neuroscience and psychology. And I've been obsessed with learning how I work and how people work. Because I know that by understanding psychology and understanding neuroscience and understanding how the brain works, those are first principles for every other area of life. If I understand how my brain works and how I think, I'll be able to catch myself doing the things that I shouldn't be doing. I will understand why I do certain things because my brain is mostly automatic. So I'll be able to catch myself because I'm self-aware. I'm aware of my flaws. I'm aware of the wiring of my brain. So I can make decisions about my life knowing why I'm making them and knowing the underlying reason behind why I make bad decisions. So your brain operates with two systems. System 1 is your quick, automatic brain. And System 2 is your deliberate, slow-thinking brain. So look at this picture for a second. You automatically, without thinking, know that he's angry, right? You look at this picture, you automatically know without even thinking. This is your System 1 brain in action. Your System 1 brain is your quick, automatic brain. Most of the decisions in your life are made by this quick automatic brain. And your quick automatic brain can get better at making decisions with a lot of practice. However, most people do not practice making great decisions. So their System 1 brain just defaults. It just does what is easiest. Now, I want you to answer the following problem. Now, you had to deliberately think of the answer, right? You weren't just able to look at this and automatically know the answer is 680, right? This is your System 2 brain. This is your deliberate brain. This is your brain that's able to make rational decisions. This brain requires a lot more mental energy, but overall, it makes better decisions. And most people do not use their System 2 brain that often because it requires a lot of mental energy. And the underlying reason behind that is why that is, and the reason why people self-select is, number one, because they have limited brain energy. Glucose, which is the brain's energy, is limited. Glucose is what your brain burns whenever you're thinking. It's basically It's basically what gives your brain energy. And you have a limited amount of it. And difficult tasks or difficult decisions require a ton of glucose. If you use a lot of your energy on trivial tasks, for example, cleaning or driving or deciding what to eat, you will use your system 1 with decisions that should use your systems 2. Because if you burn a lot of energy doing dumb stuff, you're going to use your systems 1 for important decisions. So if you're stressed, or if you have depression, or you drink alcohol or anxiety, a bad diet, you don't get enough sleep, you don't get enough exercise, all of this negatively affects your mental energy levels. And this is what happens to most people, right? They wake up without a good morning routine. They wake up in a bad mood. If your mood is bad, you can't think as clearly and you have less mental energy. And then people drive in traffic, and traffic is frustrating. So they spend 30 minutes in traffic and they're angry, and it takes mental energy to keep stopping and going while they're in traffic. And then because they keep stopping and going, this trivial activity, which is completely unsatisfying, is burning energy, right? It's burning mental energy. And then what people do is they get to work and they talk to their coworkers and they get distracted. And this burns even more mental energy. And then they sit at their desk and they flip through Instagram, they scroll on their phone, and this takes mental energy. And by the time they actually get to important work, they've used so much mental energy that their work has deteriorated. And anytime you switch tasks, right? Multitasking is a myth. You actually are not able to multitask. What's actually happening is your brain is flipping between focuses. Your brain is flipping between tasks in a microsecond. So if I scroll on my phone right now as I'm speaking, what's going to happen is my brain is going to flip back and forth between my phone, between speaking, and between looking at the computer. And it's going to flip back and forth, and that's going to use energy. Anytime you go ahead and you switch tasks, it burns energy. Which is why if you focus on something for a really long period of time without doing anything else, if you just focus on, say, working on slides for 5 hours straight, you're going to be so much more focused, and your energy is going to be so much more laser focused. By the time you get to 5 hours in, your quality of work is going to be so much better than if you kept flipping between tasks. You know, you went to the bathroom, you got up and you got water, you took care of your kids, you went ahead and you grabbed your phone. All this is burning mental energy, so you're using your systems too less. And what happens is if you get in your flow state is effortless. Your flow state is where you burn the least amount of mental energy. It's where everything feels effortless. And that's what happens if you focus on one thing for long enough. And a big part of this is not enough action to form a habit. The more we do something, the less mental energy we use. Systems 1 can make super high quality decisions with enough practice. Like, for example, grand master chess players can checkmate their opponent in 30 seconds because what used to take them deliberate systems 2 thinking is now automatic. When I first started creating these slides, it felt really difficult and tedious. Now it's mostly effortless. So if you practice something enough, what once was systems 2 now becomes systems 1. Like when you first ride a bike, you're thinking about how you're putting your feet on the pedals. You're thinking about keeping your balance. You're thinking about all these different things, right? It takes a lot of mental energy when you first start riding a bike, right? But once you do it enough, it becomes effortless. You stop thinking until you're faced with an unfamiliar situation. You know, let's just say there's a really steep hill. That's going to take more mental energy. You're going to think, okay, how do I go down this hill the safest possible way? I need to make sure I'm not hit by a car as I'm going down this hill, right? That takes more mental energy. So the more you practice something, the more you practice deliberate decision making, the more you do sales calls, the more you develop a habit, the more what once took a lot of mental energy, systems 2, will now become high quality systems 1. And this is the key. Develop things from systems 2 to systems 1. And another thing is constant numbing, lack of alone time or lack of thinking time. You know, most people are constantly numbing themselves. When they aren't working, they're on Netflix, they're drinking beer, they're scrolling, they're watching TV, they're listening to music, or they're doing something with email constantly. And all of these things that numb the mind and also cloud the mind. Taking time each day to sit alone and think, read, meditate with no stimulation is essential. And also repeating thoughts. Your brain repeats the same thoughts over and over again without you even realizing it. And by paying attention to your thoughts and controlling your thinking, you can control your brain and make it so it only thinks about what you command it to think about. So this takes control. You know, you can control your brain, you can direct it where you want, and by directing it where you want, you'll stop self-selecting, or you'll self-select less, because you'll catch yourself. You'll be like, oh, I'm thinking negatively right now. Let me stop doing that. And that habit of catching yourself will make so, that habit alone will make so throughout your life, that's how you'll start making decisions. You'll catch yourself. You'll be like, why am I doing this? It's because I'm a habit. So let's talk about the cure to a mediocre life. So imagine for a second, you're the captain of a ship, right? You have your ship, you're out in the middle of the ocean, or you're at a port and you just hopped on your ship. You have no map, you're not sure where you want to sail, and you don't know why you started sailing in the first place. You know, you just kind of hopped on the ship and you're like, oh, I'm gonna steer my ship. That's what I'm going to do today. You know, where will you end up? Where you end up be the best possible destination? You know, if you just hop on the ship, you just start steering it. You don't know why you're doing it. Will where you end up be the best possible destination? It's almost impossible that it will be the best possible destination. You'll probably end up on a random island, end up shipwrecked, run out of supplies, and eventually end up settling for where you land. Now imagine you're this captain. You've decided you want to get to a tropical island in Central America with beautiful beaches so you can clear your mind with a week vacation. You know you need to go east to get there, right? All right, tropical island, Central America, beautiful beaches, clear my mind with a week vacation. I need to go east. How likely are you to get there? And how likely are you to be satisfied once you get there? You're going to be way more satisfied because you didn't just say, hey, I'm going to hop on the ship. You set criteria. You said, this is what I want. I need to sail east. You might not know exactly where you're going, but you have a general direction and you know what you're looking for. So you're going to be satisfied because you deliberately decided. And criteria is a simple principle or standard by which something may be judged or decided. And in order to defeat biases, we have to make criteria. Because humans are terrible at making rational decisions. Our brain don't understand statistics, and most of our choices are made unconsciously with different biases. Your ego will tell you you're a great decision maker, but that's not true. We are wired to be overly optimistic and overestimate our abilities. Cavemen rarely had to do math. You know that? What cavemen had to do is they had to say, okay, where can I find food? Am I safe? Do I have a mate? Those are the things our ancestors for thousands of years thought about. We're in a complicated modern world. And in this complicated modern world, our brain is still prehistoric. We still have a caveman brain, a monkey brain. So as a result, we suck at rational thinking. You are not rational. I'm not rational. By and large, we're emotional creatures. Now, the solution to this is to create criteria for different things we want in our life. And this exercise of deliberate thinking will allow you to make the best possible decisions so you can use your criteria to decide whether or not something is right for you or not. And this is where the life criteria sheet comes in. An incredibly, incredibly powerful tool. And I'm going to give you access to the sheet down below this video. What you'll do is you'll go to File, and you'll make a copy, and then you'll make a copy for yourself. And here's how the sheet works. So up here in this row, we have a specific area of your life: romantic relationship, career, physical activity, weight, lifestyle, sleep, daily routine, family, right? So these are different areas of your life that may be important to you. And you can feel free to add anything to the sheet. Like, for example, if you wanted to add maybe religion to the sheet, and maybe you have certain standards for your religious practices, maybe you would add that to the sheet. Maybe you would add spirituality. Maybe you would add diet. Maybe you would add, anything that's important to you. Physical fitness, or whatever it is, right? Maybe you surf, right? Maybe that's your hobby. You'd add surfing to this, right? Maybe you want to surf 4 times a week, or maybe 4 times a month, and each time you want to get a little better. I'm not a surfer. I wouldn't know how you would qualify that, right? But you would put whatever's important to you here, right? And then what you do is in each area, you would type a little bit about what your criteria is. And I have an example here. So romantic relationship. So what I want out of a romantic relationship is love and affection in some form every day. I want intelligent conversation. I want desire but not clinginess. I want us to be independently happy of each other. I want clear and open communication and understanding. I want mutual respect and admiration. I want sex at least twice a week. And I want to support each other's goals and desires. That's what I want out of a romantic relationship, right? And you'll do the same thing for personal finance, career, physical activity. Maybe for personal finance, you want to save 10% of your income every month. You want to pay yourself personally $150,000 a year. You want to be able to afford a new suit every month. You want to be able to travel someplace new every 3 months. You want to be able to pay for a private school for your kid. Maybe that's your qualifications for personal finance, right? And that's what you put here. Career. I want to make my own schedule. I want to be able to work as much as I want. I want to have a great team that supports me and are people I actually like to be around. And that's my qualification for career. Physical activity. I want to work out every single day in the morning. I want to go for a walk every single day at lunch so I can let my food digest and I'll just feel better, right? Maybe that's my only criteria. Maybe for weight, maybe I'm okay with my weight. Maybe I weigh 130. I'm okay. I just want to be 130. I want to maintain my weight. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to gain weight. The more specific, the better. So set your criteria. And you'll do this for every area that's important to you. You'll add to this. 8 hours of sleep. Super high quality sleep. I want to wake up feeling energized, rested. And by doing this, you'll be able to assess your life. You'll be able to see, okay, do I meet my criteria or do I not? You might do this and then look at your life and be like, oh my God, my romantic relationship sucks. I literally have nothing I want. And guess what? Now you can act accordingly. Now you can take action. You can say, okay, I need to end this relationship because I'm not getting what I want. None of this meets my criteria, right? And this exercise of deliberate thinking will change your life, I promise you, because we're not logical creatures. We're not. We self-select all the time. You choose a relationship because that person messaged you on Instagram, you had a good conversation, you guys hooked up. She said, "Will you date me?" You said, sure." You made that decision. You date for a year. Things are good. You get to know them more and you're like, "Oh my God, this person's horrible. I'm a conservative. They're a liberal. We don't get along at all. We have completely different values. They don't want kids. I want kids. They have all these emotional problems. Their main goal in life is, they're super religious. I'm not religious. We don't connect at all. This doesn't meet any of my criteria." That's literally how most people's lives go. And they stumble from thing to thing to thing, right? So then now the next part of this is you'll rate your criteria for this month out of 10. So let's just say my romantic relationship is an 8 out of 10, right? So now you'll describe an 10 out of 10 situation. So if it's an 8, how could it be a 10? Maybe we don't see each other enough, right? We're a long distance relationship. I love the person. They're great, but I'd like to see each other more. And let's just say we don't have sex enough, all right? So I would type those things down. I'd say more sex and say see each other more, right? And guess what? Since you went ahead and put this down, you can act accordingly, all right? If these are the things you want and you sit down and you think about this deliberately, this is what I want. You can talk to your partner. You can say, "Hey, can we see each other more? Hey, can we, get it on more?" Like you'll write that down and then you'll be able to act accordingly, right? Because now you know what's missing. You can now optimize and improve this part of your life. And guess what? If you get a 10 out of 10 in every area, guess how amazing your life will be. Guess how amazing of a life you'll have if you do this. Like, oh my God, your life will be amazing because you were so intentional. You did not self-select. And then you'll write your criteria for each area, right? So let's just say a romantic relationship isn't important to you. Let's say you don't really even want a romantic relationship. You'll say this is like a 3 out of 10. You're like, I get lonely sometimes, but I don't really want a relationship. So you'll put a 3 because it's not that important to you. Personal finance. Let's just say your personal finance is like extremely important to you. You're broke right now. It's negatively affecting all areas of your life. You're desperate for money, super money hungry. You have great sense of urgency. You'll say this is a 10, right? Your career. You hate your career. It's terrible. You want to quit, right? But it's not like deathly. It's not like a deathly emergency, so you'll put like 8. Physical activity. You're 700 pounds. The doctor said you're going to die tomorrow. You're going to say 10. I need to do physical activity right away. Wait, 10. Lifestyle. I hate my life. So guess what? I'm going to put a 10. I'll put like an 8. Super high priority. And your priority will go down over time, right? Or it'll change over time, right? Money's important to you always. It's one of the things that's just super important to you in your life, This might change from a 10 to an 8 or a 7, but maybe it'll still stay up, right? And then down here, what you'll put is your improvement from the previous month, right? So you'll do this every single month. So every month you'll do this, right? Every month you'll fill out this life criteria sheet. And the goal is to reference this. Like, let's just say you went on a date with someone, right? What you'll do is you'll go on a date with someone and then you'll look at the sheet and you'll say, okay, maybe you'll set, maybe you don't have a relationship. Maybe you'll put dating, right? What is your criteria for a date? And then you'll write out what you want in that person, right? And let's say you go on different dates, right? And you are yet to find anyone who meets your qualifications. However, the people that you started dating have been a little higher quality than the previous month. Well, what you'll do is you'll maybe change this to month 2. So do this every month. In month 2. And then you'll go here to dating. And things have improved a little bit. So first what you'll do is you'll go up here. Current situation from 1 to 10. And your criteria might not change. It might change, but also might not change. Right? Maybe you realize you value a certain thing in a person, and you'll add that to your criteria, right? So you'll constantly add to your criteria as you come up with new things that you want. And then maybe your current situation from 1 out of 10 went from a 4 to a 6, right? So let's just say it's a 6 out of 10. Last month, it was a 2 out of 10, right? If a 10 out of 10 situation is the same, you can keep it the same, but it also might change. Priority out of 10, maybe this priority went up. Maybe you're really lonely, you really need someone, so maybe this went from a 7 to an 8. And this month it was a 6, and last month it was a 4, so you'll say 2. So you got a little better at dating, a little better at finding the right type of date. It's still not that great because you don't have someone, right? So that would maybe be an 8 or a 10, or whatever that number is. Right? But it's improvement, right? So you can constantly track your improvement over time and make sure you're getting closer to what you want in each area of your life. And I came up with this just out of nowhere. I mean, I don't want to stroke my own ego, but I mean, I don't know how I thought about this, but I just had this random thought come to my head. And this is going to change your life. Like, oh my God, dude, I'm so excited to see what this does for your life. Like, wow. So go ahead and do this, fill this out. And then here are the rest of your action items. So first of all, fill out your criteria sheet and revisit each month. Use the sheet whenever you're making a decision in each area and ask yourself, does this meet my criteria, right? Does this career, does this person, does this date, do my finances, blah, 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 does my physical fitness, does it meet my criteria, right? Action item 2, exercise making deliberate decisions. Your system 2, take a step back and think through important decisions before deciding. If you have an impulse, practice this. If you have an impulse for making a decision, let's just say you see McDonald's. Let's just say you usually go to McDonald's and you're tempted to drive through the drive-thru. Stop yourself and be like, oh, what is my criteria for what I want to eat? All right, well, I feel a little overweight. I don't feel great today. Let me eat a salad. Where can I get a good salad? Wendy's has good salads, and it's fast, because another one of my criteria is fast, because I have a lot of time, and I don't want to spend a bunch of money on food, so I'm going to get a salad from Wendy's. Boom. That one decision is going to make your day so much better. And practicing this over time, your life is going to get so much better. And pay attention to your mental energy and your repeating thoughts. Catch yourself before you self-select. Luck is a residue of great design.